This is the Make and Bake from the Witchy Essentials box that I did last week. This is the Tincture. It's very, very, very easy. The hardest part of this is continuing to remember to shake it, basically. But as I said in the previous video, I normally line mine up by the kettle, and then every time I go to the kettle I just give them a shake. Because I do go to the kettle a lot. You can also put them on top of the fridge and give them a shake then. Pretty much, as long as you do it every day, it'll work. So this is a magical intention tincture. So the idea is that you think about what you want to embody with this tincture. This is a kind of a goal-setting, long-term purification, creativity kind of tincture. So helping you reach a magical goal. So I have thought about my magical goal. I have, taken my steps or whatever to embed that in my head. And now I'm going to just put the tincture together. This is the practical bit of it. First thing I did was to put the required amount of herbs, which of course will depend on your recipe or instructions, into my little mini pestle and mortar here to crush up the herbs. It's important to do that because first off it will help release the insides of the leaves and help mix them together if you've got more than one herb in there, and it will allow the oils from the herb to seep into the alcohol mixture. And I just use a very rough and ready, because I don't have a funnel, a rough and ready funnel made out of a bit of scrap paper to decant my herbs into that tiny little bottle, because it can be quite tricky if you don't have a funnel. And all I do is tip them in and move the paper around a little bit until all the herbs are in the bottle. It's pretty simple and it's not too difficult to do if you've got a fairly steady hand. So once you've got your dry ingredients in your bottle, your next step is to add any oils, which we don't have oils in this one. The tincture is being made with alcohol only. So we've got our bottle of alcohol, not drinking alcohol, just ordinary alcohol, chemistry lab type alcohol. And I use a pipette to take out the amount of alcohol that I need and put it into the bottle. Now, it can depend on how much herb you've put in there. Rosemary is quite strong, so I just filled it up. You wouldn't normally need more than about a teaspoon of rosemary in one of these little bottles. And of course, alcohol evaporates, so please make sure that you screw your cap on really well on your alcohol bottle. The top for the brown bottles that Crafting Magic sends out has two sections. It's got the stopper that goes in the top of the bottle, and it's also got the black piece that is the cap. Once you put that all together, and you do have to screw it in quite well to get it to stay in place. Once you've put that into place, you will have a sealed lid. So if you're making a tincture for someone else, you can see now that there is a seal on the lid. So once it's in there, you can't take it off without breaking the seal. So don't forget to put all your ingredients in before you put that stopper on. Yes, I speak from experience. Give it a bit of a shake, and that will start the fermenting process. I also like to include a very simple label for my own tinctures. For other people's, I get a bit fancy, but for my own, I just put a simple label on with the name of the tincture on the front and the date that it was created on the back. Now, when I actually use the tincture at a later date, I will have to open the seal And I will also add to the created date, the date that it was opened, because alcohol tinctures will keep for quite a long time, but others like oils and things won't necessarily keep for as long. So I like to know when I opened it so that I can come back to it, and if I look at it and say, well, that's been open for like 2 years, I think it's time to make a new batch. You know, they do keep for a very long time, but obviously that does depend on how you store them as well. So I just pop on sticky labels, nothing special about these labels, they're just ordinary printer labels. And they come off nice and easily from the glass as well, so if you want to reuse your bottles, you can. And that's it for the tincture. Simple as that. Shake every day and you're done. To record this tincture in my Book of Shadows, I simply used the original recipe that came in the Crafting Magic box. I don't tend to rewrite these out unless I make significant changes to them, but I don't normally use the basic tinctures either. I would normally make my own. However, on this occasion I used it as it was, and as you can see I simply stuck it down to the page with some sparkly washi tape, which went with the tincture itself because it was all to do with magical purposes and goals and prosperity and all that kind of thing. And then I took a thin sheet of paper and wrote down all the goals and thoughts that I had to go with this particular spell. I like to do stuff in my journal because it reminds me that it's happening, it's there. It's like having your goals list in your planner. It's there in your face and you can't forget that it's there. And I just tucked that piece of paper in behind the recipe sheet and sealed it in. I then made a few notes on the side just for the tincture itself. These are notes to do with what I might do differently next time, what I might want to change about it, what I liked and disliked about it, all that kind of stuff. And I also made a couple of notes for the prosperity spell on the left because I used that with it, which is something that I find useful to do for future reference.